Hello everyone, welcome back to my living room. I'm hoping very soon to actually have a space cleared out in the garage so that I can have my own lair for these sorts of videos. I had wanted to record a video about Harry Potter, actually, of all things, because it's my opinion that Harry Potter is actually the height of American literature, the greatest story of our age. But and I have positive things to say, by the way, about Harry Potter. So we'll get to that one day. But right now, there's something a little more timely that I wanted to deal with, and I was watching a video by Nerdrotic about She-Hulk. So if you haven't heard of Nerdrotic, go check him out. Although if you're watching this, it's far more likely that you've heard about Nerdrotic before me. And honestly, his video was the first time I had ever actually heard about She-Hulk as a character. I didn't know that she existed as a character before this video. I'm not really the biggest comic book fan. You'll have to talk to my brother about that. But I like Nerdrotic's videos. His channel's kind of fun, and seems like a nice guy. I feel like one day it'd be neat to go bowling with him, or I don't know, put together a jigsaw puzzle or something like that. But I'm digressing. I'm sorry. So, in his video about She-Hulk, he mentioned some interesting things, and I want to put my 2 cents in. Now, I'll have to make another video about some things about Captain America, because apparently there's some things about Captain America that were said in the film, and I want to address that because I really like Captain America. He's the one exception to my rule of I'm not a big comic book fan. I really like him as a character. But for now, what I want to do is that's another focus that I have is I noticed an interesting connection, and I want to talk mostly right now about modern cinema's strong female character. I'm sure you know what I mean. I'm sure you've got a list of these strong female characters that you care so much about not caring about. I think the term is Mary Sue, where the girl is basically instantly good at whatever it is she does. She has unworked for skills that far surpass others. And really, from a basic sense, it just makes for a boring character. I mean, if there's no struggle, who cares, right? I mean, and we see this a lot nowadays. And I'm personally thinking of Rey from the terrible new Star Wars trilogy, or Elsa from Frozen, or Captain Marvel. Well, gosh, I'm only thinking of Disney characters, but I'm sure in other studios they have these, Mary Sue sorts of characters. And apparently now She-Hulk. Now, I'm not going to criticize the She-Hulk film since I haven't seen it. It really didn't look all that interesting to me, but I was actually struck by a rather interesting parallel between historical nobility and modern strong female characters. Now, there's only a parallel with a portion of historical nobles, and bear with me, see if we can get there together. So, when we're talking about nobles in the ancient, medieval, pre-modern, even in the modern world, right, nobles overall, they were considered people's betters, or at least they considered themselves to be people's betters, and they certainly looked the part, and they certainly acted the part, and in many cases, they were people's betters. Now, before you think I am a filthy elitist, let me assure you that I absolutely am. However, when I say that nobles were other people's betters, I don't mean that they were better in the sense that they had greater dignity or human worth, right? I actually agree with Horton's assessment of personhood. So, what I mean is that they often had greater skills. They were more likely to be literate. They had business and managerial skills that far surpassed what was needed to run a farm or a craft workshop. And of course, they often had far greater martial skills. They knew how to fight. And similarly, the modern strong female character is simply better than her peers. She's smarter. She's more skilled. She's a better fighter. But here's the problem, and here's where a good portion of the nobles, the historical nobles, diverge from that parallel. Nobles had to work for it. Now, yes, nobles, for the most part, were almost always born into their positions, almost without exception. But if they wanted to be good or skilled or proficient, if they wanted to maintain their position, or in some cases, even if they wanted to maintain their heads on their shoulders, they had to work hard. Literacy and accounting requires hard work. I mean, it's hard to learn how to read. I'm homeschooling my kids. That's why I have all this junk over here. I'm homeschooling my kids, and it's hard to learn how to read. Imagine trying to read without cheap paper. Nowadays, it's easy. My kids can just, go through a whole ream of paper, and it's like, darn, I have to go spend another $5. Imagine if a single sheet of paper was $20. That's essentially what it would be. In fact, I think like parchment, like actual parchment nowadays, is about that expensive. Look it up on Amazon or I don't know, your local purveyor of fine papers, and I don't know if Dunder Mifflin has paper, but or parchment, but if you look it up, it's still used. I think the Jews mostly use it for like mezuzahs and blessings and other like, I don't know, highly specific things. But anyway, goat parchment is like, for a slice like this big, it's like $15. So that's expensive. So it's hard work. Management requires experience and hard work, often very grueling and boring hard work, right? Martial arts requires constant practice. And you guessed it, hard work. Give it a shot sometime, actually. Go find a Muay Thai master or a karate black belt, somebody who's very skilled in the martial arts, and pick a fight with them, get your ass kicked, and when that's done, shake the guy's hand, say thank you, and ask him, well, gosh, how did you get so good at martial arts? And Dollars to Donut says they're going to say, well, I practice a lot. I mean, maybe he'll be selling, something and say, well, you have to come to my dojo and learn the Rex Kwon Do or whatever that was. Now, we have plenty of examples of great nobles from history, right? I mean, Charlemagne, Augustus, Bismarck, all of these guys. We even have plenty of good examples of female nobles that are very well remembered in history. Very tellingly, they don't look like their male counterparts, with some minor exceptions. But think of Cleopatra. Right? If any woman had to work hard for her position, it was her. And I mean, she was an Egyptian princess, right? A Ptolemaic princess, and still, she was born into this position, but she still had to work for it and work hard. And if you're curious, by the way, which I hope you are, actually look up an actual history of her life, because it's very interesting. It's so much more than just Liz Taylor's pretty face, right? And to be honest, after several generations of brother-sister inbreeding, I kind of wonder how physically attractive Cleopatra truly was. I don't know. I mean, she kind of controlled, or could control, Egypt, and that's lots of power, and power is sexy, right? So maybe that's it. Anyway, but there's many others. I mean, it's not just Cleopatra. Think of Matilda of Tuscany, Queen Victoria, plenty more. And think, for a moment, what interesting characters we could have if we applied those historical nobles' lives of struggle and failure and adversity and growth to the modern strong female character. But that's the thing that's missing from these strong female characters, the hard work. I think that's something that is commented on quite a bit, right? That I hear unearned a lot, right? Their skills are unearned. And the parallel between the nobility and the strong female characters doesn't end there, actually. Remember, I said there's a portion of the nobility that really makes this work. And that's because we do have many examples of nobles who did not put in the hard work. They were born into a position of great power and responsibility, but they never put in the actual elbow grease to actually be good at it. And here's the thing. There's two ways that this could go. All right, their lives can go in one of two ways, right? The first way is probably the more pleasant way, and that's that they're just forgotten. They skated along and they maintained, and maybe they still got to eat their rich foods and wear their sumptuous clothing and all of this. But I mean, nobody knows these people. Nobody cares about these people, because why would you? In fact, I would even challenge a medievalist to name more than a handful of these ineffective, mediocre nobles outside their particular area of expertise. Even in your particular area of expertise. If you're a medievalist, I challenge you. See if you can find one of these guys that's just kind of like, eh. And I have a feeling that this is the sort of class that She-Hulk will fall into. She just seems like she's going to be a boring character. From what I see of her, she just seems boring. I mean, which is pretty disappointing since she's supposed to be an invincible rage monster, right? Invincible rage monsters are supposed to be interesting. And she just, I can't get myself to really want to see a story about her. Ice witches are supposed to be interesting, right? But who cares about Queen Elsa? I mean, I don't know, unless you're a 4-year-old girl. But there's a whole other category of noble that fits the parallel, by the way. And they similarly didn't put the work in, but rather than just being boring and forgotten, these ones were catastrophes. Disasters. And you could probably think of a couple right now. Think of Caligula. Think of Louis XVI. These are nobles who inherited huge power and responsibility, and they just simply pretended to be awesome. Now, granted, it's probably not fair to equate a bad movie like The Last Jedi to Caligula's Reign of Terror, but I'm going to do it anyway, because Rey was a bad character. In fact, she was as bad a character as Caligula was an emperor. I'd be willing to bet that She-Hulk is as bad a character as Louis XVI was a king. Perhaps she's not going to necessarily cause the fall of the French Empire, or kingdom, I guess I should say, but still, she's a bad character. And what's sad about all of this, what's really sad about all of this, is that these characters don't have to be bad characters. All you have to do is give them a character arc, a hero's journey. Let them struggle a little bit. I mean, certainly, somewhere in all of cinema history, there's an example of a character who was born into great power and responsibility, who had the great weight of destiny borne upon his shoulders, who had to work hard and train painstakingly, only to fail, but to get back up and work all the harder and finally overcome his enemies and save the galaxy. I'd be willing to bet that there are plenty of female examples of women being challenged with unassailable adversity that had to work hard and fail and learn from mistakes and expend huge effort to save the day. We have the examples, so why don't we see the characters in many films today? I mean, why can't Rey have a hard time lifting the rocks? Why can't Elsa actually struggle with her powers and what they mean? Why can't She-Hulk learn something from normal Hulk? Just the Hulk? The Incredible Hulk, right? The Incredible Hulk. Why not? Well, I can't really answer that for you. I mean, there's a million different theories about why this is going on and all of this. Personally, I've never attempted to plumb the depths of bad movie makers' minds. Perhaps there's not much there to plumb. But what I can tell you is, like nobles in history, these sorts of Mary Sue, poorly written, strong female characters are bound to either wither away in uninterestingness, like those nameless forgotten nobles, or they're going to crash in flames as they scar and tear down beloved franchises as effectively as Caligula damaged Rome. So those are my thoughts on the matter. Thank you, Nerdrotic, for being thought-provoking, and thank you, my viewers, Mom, for hearing me out. I hope this was thought-provoking to you as well. And I hope for all of our sakes, that we start seeing some more good characters that we can actually identify with, because they're not perfect. I mean, what a concept. That might be another video right there. Why we identify with characters. Not because we are the same race, gender, orientation as them, but because we struggle like a human being. With that said, I wish you all gladness in your lives, and I hope to see you again soon.